Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Veteran Mountain Man. And, well, here we go. It appears I'm not going to have a panel tonight, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about quite a few things. And it appears that for some reason my chat is disabled. So please make sure you leave comments. Also, make sure you catch me on Twitter and Gab, which will allow you to interact with me more in real time. Oh, no, there we go. My chat's come up. So, for everyone just now joining, I wanted to talk about the state of America and the world right now. And one of the things that I have been looking at in the news is that we seem to have a huge disconnect. See, Venezuela is going under. And of course, as Venezuela goes under, nobody is really talking about it. And I see we have Goat Man here. Hey, Goat Man. Good to see you. But as Venezuela goes under and starts to burn, you're seeing two camps divide out. You're seeing those that are talking about America should not interfere and we need to lift the sanctions on Maduro. And you're seeing a camp that is talking about we need to allow the Venezuelans to overthrow their government and form a new democratic government. Now, I kind of fall a little bit more on this side, of course. However, I seem to take more of the French approach on this. I think we should be selling arms to Venezuela's rebellion. I think that we should be willing to give them assistance as they stand themselves up, but they need to stand themselves up. And I honestly think this about any country going through a regime change. You cannot actually force people to be free. You can't. You can force people to be enslaved. You can take what they make. You can force them into poverty. You can control and manipulate them. But you can't actually make someone be free. So if countries like Venezuela are going to rebel and actually become free, we have to let them do it on their own. It's something that has to be done for yourself. Nobody can do it for you. And it's one of the lessons that we learned in Vietnam. One of the reasons we had a problem in Vietnam is the South Vietnamese were not ready to fight against the Viet Cong. And because they weren't, we basically had a stalemate situation because our soldiers could beat the Viet Cong back, but they weren't allowed to pursue them fully and finish them. And the South Vietnamese were allowed to pursue them fully and finish them, but they wouldn't. And so we ended up in a stalemate. And that's why the Vietnam conflict went the way it did. It's not necessarily because we were bad or wrong or the Viet Cong were right or that they were better than our soldiers were. It was that our soldiers weren't allowed to finish the job, and the South Vietnamese wouldn't finish the job. And so the Viet Cong kept coming back again and again. And as they got support from China and Cambodia and Laos, they continued to replenish their losses and continued to fight. And this will happen in Venezuela if we actually put boots on the ground, if we actually try to fight with or for the rebellion. Now, that being said, they still need to be allowed to fight their war to be free. And we shouldn't stop that. Yes, war is bloody. Yes, war is brutal. But there are some things that are worth fighting for, and we need to let the people in Venezuela fight for those things. Well, now in some of the lighter side of news, apparently presidential hopeful and senator of California, Senator of California, Kamala Harris, got her start in politics by playing with Mayor Willie's Willie. That's right. Old Mayor Willie from San Francisco has admitted that he gave Kamala Harris her first several governmental positions in California and was dating her at the time when he did. So this should be being screamed from the rooftops. It's an obvious sign of corruption in the Democrat Party, especially in California. And it's quite obvious that Kamala Harris needs to be shamed by the Me Too movement. And where are all the feminists? All the ones that say you shouldn't sleep your way to the top. You know, they used to shout all the time that sexual harassment in the workplace was horrible and that, you know, women shouldn't have to sleep their way to the top. But here Willie is sleeping with Kamala and pushing her right up to the top. It's kind of funny because, you know, he also tried to defend the fact that he helped Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein and several others in the Democrat Party in California during this same time period. But he wasn't dating them. And the fact that he quid pro'd her quo makes me wonder why she should even be a serious political candidate at all at this point. Never mind the fact that she's got her intersectional politics box checked. She is definitely not a bastion of feminist power because she didn't do it on her own. She slept her way up there. And that's not supposed to be what women who are strong and powerful do. Now, as we continue on, many of you have also noticed that there has been a huge push in narrative by the lamestream media to claim that Donald Trump caved on the shutdown. Now, I think realistically that this was kind of strategic. I think that what he is doing is he is creating a State of the Union, and he's going to give his State of the Union, and he's going to lambast Nancy Pelosi. He's going to damage the Democrat Party in the discussion, and in 3 weeks, the government could end up shut right back down if they're not willing to budge on wall funding. Now, just recently today, there was a new report that was published that shows that Nancy Pelosi lost 20% of her popularity during the government shutdown. Now, this wasn't really talked about, and in fact, the poll wasn't even published into the mainstream media until 2 days after the shutdown finished, from what I can tell. But compared to President Trump, who lost 5 points in popularity, Nancy Pelosi lost 20. And I think some of this shows that realistically, the progressive left message and agenda has lost a lot of ground even within the Democrat Party. In fact, yesterday, Pew Research published a poll set where they showed Democrats and Republicans and showed the split out between what each party thought that their party should be moving towards. Now, as you can imagine, the Democrats had a very large majority, a very large number of progressives, a whopping 40%. But 60% of Democrats said that they should be moving more centrist. Now, compare that to the Republicans, where 20 to 30% said that they should move more centrist, and an almost 70% said that they need to move more right. Now, this is realistically something that we've been seeing in the Republican Party for a lot longer. See, the Republicans started pushing back towards the right even under George W. Bush in the early 2000s because He was a rhino. And many of the people that he worked with were either neocons or Republicans in name only, or even, as some of them have been called now, fetal position Republicans. That's where they curl up into the fetal position whenever anybody confronts them. And we need to understand that this isn't what people want out of the Republican Party. People expect Republicans to actually stand strong and stand up for what they believe in. And it's not happening. Now, we're going to go ahead and go into some really disturbing news here. I am actually looking at the physical bill passed in New York for public health. And this act is to amend the public health law in relation to enacting Reproductive Health Act and revising existing provisions of law regarding abortion, to amend the penalty of law, the criminal procedure law, court law, and judiciary law in relation to abortion, to repeal certain provisions of the public health law relating to abortion, to repeal certain provisions of the education law relating to the sale of contraceptives, and to repeal certain provisions of the penal law regarding abortion. And many of you are going to be like, well, why are you talking about abortion? Excuse me there. Sorry about that. Well, something that did happen is that New York did pass this law. And one of the things that it does is it actually authorizes practitioners within 24 weeks from commencement of pregnancy, or in the absence of fetal viability, or at any time when necessary to protect the patient's life or health, it authorizes abortion. Now, any time to protect the patient's life or health, or if there is an absence of fetal viability. Now, this realistically is vagued up rather well for a very simple reason. They want it to be very ambiguous. And because they want it to be very ambiguous, they want to basically open up the availability of abortion a lot more than it was. Now, something we're constantly hearing from progressive media and from the Women's March and many other groups is that we need to protect Roe v. Wade. We need to protect Roe v. Wade. We need to protect Roe v. Wade. This law actually exceeds the authorization and mandate of Roe v. Wade, because Roe v. Wade limited abortion to the first trimester. That's right, the first trimester. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit, I am not necessarily the most staunch pro-life individual. From that, what I mean is that I can understand abortion in the cases of rape. I can understand abortion in the cases of incest. I can even understand abortion in very limited situations where the mother's health is at risk. We're talking about serious preeclampsia, RH factor issues, strep, things of that nature, where the woman stands a very harsh chance of dying if she continues through with the pregnancy. What I can't understand is opening up the idea of abortion more than it already was. Because, see, these are some of the things that were already covered under Roe v. Wade. And yet New York has decided that they have to pass this law to protect abortion. Now, in this, it talks about the justification of this. And it says in 1970, New York legalized abortion in some circumstances, thereby recognizing a woman has a fundamental right to make a medical decision about the course of a pregnancy. That's not what the law did, but that's what they're claiming it did. 3 years later, the Supreme Court of the United States issued its landmark decision in Roe v. Wade, holding that it's a fundamental right is protected by the United States Constitution. Well, Roe v. Wade actually stated that it wasn't a state's right to interfere with medical advice given to a woman about having an abortion for medical reasons. And it tried to limit the scope of that to the first trimester when serious risks were caused by the pregnancy. Now, let's continue on here. During the decades since Roe v. Wade was decided, there have been numerous court decisions clarifying the scope and right to abortion. But unfortunately, New York's laws have remained outdated. Furthermore, it is clear that some provisions of New York law are unconstitutional or have proved burdensome to women seeking to assert their constitutionally protected right to an abortion. Now, here's the deal. Roe v. Wade did not constitutionally give the right to abortion. It stated that states didn't have the power to stop all abortions. But it didn't create an amendment like the Second Amendment or First Amendment or Fourth Amendment guaranteeing unlimited access to abortion. What it did is it stated that creating laws that basically put women in a forced situation where they had to have a child which could kill them or was the child of a rapist was unconstitutional, that they had the right to make up some of their own mind. And I can understand that positioning. I don't say it's necessarily right in all situations, but I can at least understand that positioning. This I'm having trouble understanding. So this bill updates New York's abortion statutes to address constitutional flaws in our laws and recognize a woman's fundamental right to access safe, legal abortion. Well, so one of the things I have to ask is, what about the rights of the child? See, we're founded on natural law, and in natural law, you have the right to live. And because you have the right to live, that means that nobody can take that right away from you. Now, what this law effectively does is allows a fairly unlimited ability to take that right away from an unborn child, someone who can't speak for themselves. Not only does it take that right of that unborn child away, but it also assumes that the man who was complicit in the conception of that child has no responsibilities or rights whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying that men should be able to stop women from aborting because that creates a slippery slope, such as, rapists suing to force a woman to carry his child to term. That's sick. That's disgusting. But there is something that does need to be discussed here, and that is the father's rights as well. Because, it takes two to create a baby. Contrary to these leftist concepts that, there is no such thing as biological sex, and biological sex is nothing more than a psychological construct. It does take a man and a woman to have a baby. That is standard biological sex. You need male and female material. It's true in plants, it's true in mammals, it's true in amphibians, it's true in fish, it's true in birds. Pretty much anything that sexually reproduces, this is true in, excluding a handful of animals that asexually reproduce. But those are lower level invertebrates, and they don't really count in this situation because we're not talking about low level invertebrates, we're talking about human beings. Human beings reproduce sexually. And this idea that it is only a woman's decision in these situations shows a fundamental lack of disrespect for men. And this has been something that has been pushed by the feminist movement and has become very damaging to our society because it's actually doing more damage to the family unit and the social fabric. As we remove men from the household more and more, we create a dangerous situation which allows for the state to take the place of the provider in the home. And that's a very disturbing thought because that's how we end up in socialism, people. It is one of the fundamental steps that Hitler took to get the children to depend on him. Stalin and Lenin took these steps to get the children to depend on the state so that they would become good communists and support the state to create more good communists. Mao Zedong did this. The North Korean dictators have done this. Even the Castro brothers have done this. One of the fundamental ways to completely change a society and try to force it to a new idea is to take control of the children from a very early age. And the way that that's being done here in the United States is through the use of abortion, welfare benefits, forced education, and the supplanting of the father figure with the state as the father figure. And this is a very dangerous, slippery slope, and New York is pushing it further. Well, so let's talk about some light side here. Apparently, not only do we have, Kamala Harris running for president, but we have Beto O'Rourke, who is doing a happy backpacking, happy wanderer Instagram tour through the country, writing bad beat poetry. And not only do we have Beto O'Rourke doing this, we also have the beautiful AOC. Yes, I called her beautiful. Stiffu, if you don't like that. She's a very attractive woman, and I have the right to say that under the First Amendment. Now, that being said, she's also as dim as a 3-watt LED. This past weekend, I took her to task over her concept that we only have 12 more years. Should global warming not be checked? And I asked her specifically how stripping the economy of the United States, which is one of the lowest polluting first world nations, would curb the large amounts of CO2 being pumped out by China, Africa, and India, creating her global warming effect that is killing us all. And of course, to help support her, crazy Al Gore has shown up on the scene yelling that global warming exists, and the current migrant caravan coming up from Central and South America is proof that global warming exists. I think somebody needs to get Al Gore a pudding cup, maybe the same kind of pudding cup that people have been feeding Bernie Sanders for a while, because it seems to keep him placated. Maybe there's some magic pills in there for the commie. And maybe Al Gore needs some of those magic pills too, because people migrate. People always have migrated. People always will migrate. And just because you grew a hipster beard and decided to fly around in your jet yelling that global warming exists doesn't mean we believe you any more than we did before, Mr. Gore. In fact, that's the reason you haven't been let back in the state of Tennessee, is because we know you're a fraud. And when we got rid of you, we wouldn't let you come back. So good riddance, go back into obscurity, and leave the rest of us alone. Now, not only is she talking about how global warming is going to kill us in 12 years, but she is also equating global warming with World War II. Now, here's the problem. World War II was a national socialist movement in Europe using Democrat eugenics justifications and insane logic of some sort of Aryan super race to push to war on Europe and conquer all the countries in Europe. Now they sided with Italy and with Japan, and they pushed to do this. But global warming is the millennials' World War II. I'm failing to see the equation here. Now, this realistically is her trying to give millennials an important reason to rally around her and to subject themselves to her power. But the truth is I hope millennials are not that dumb. Because if they are foolish enough to fall for this obvious ploy, then we've got bigger problems in this country. Now, not only does she think that the world's going to end in 12 years and that global warming is their World War II, she is also supporting the push by some of the Democrats in the House to lower the voting age to 16. Now, some of you may not know what my stance is on this, but I want to take a minute here and talk about this. Voting age is a privilege of the majority. And because it's a privilege of the majority, it's also a responsibility of the majority. And so if you want to lower the reasonable age of majority to 16, giving 16-year-olds the right to serve in the military, consume alcohol, purchase weaponry, vote, sign contracts in debt, and be full-standing citizens of their own right, well, then das ist macht's nix. That's a bunch of nothing then at that point. I can't really object because you're trying to establish the age of majority at 16. And if we're going to, as a society, establish age of majority as 16, then that's what we're going to do. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Doc. Give me a second here. I'm going to try to send it to you again then. However, if you're sending the age of majority as 16, then all activities in the majority must be 16, and not just the idea that you can vote. If you're not going to lower the age of majority to 16, then we should not be changing the voting age to 16, because voting is both a responsibility and a right. And if we're not going to let these people... Hey, Kaz, how you doing?
Hello there. I apologize that I'm fashionably late.
That's all right. That's all right. We still got about 30 minutes. I was actually just talking about the new package in the House, in Congress, trying to lower the legal voting age to 16.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that for, I think, a couple of months. That's been a huge talking point.
Yeah, they're trying to pass it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have enough support to actually pass it. But I was just giving my opinion on it, which is if we want to lower the voting age to 16, then we need to lower the age of majority to 16.
Yeah, well, I mean, the argument I would make is, what business does one have to give someone that young the power of voting? And they don't even have... or necessarily the developed into the kind of person that should be making that kind of decision. It sounds like a desperate ploy to me for certain groups to get extra votes.
Well, see, my point is that if we want to give them the power to vote, then we have to give them all of the rights and privileges of a citizen.
Mhm.
Because you can't be a good, informed citizen unless you have all of the rights and privileges of a citizen.
Mhm. Well,
This is something that was actually argued in the Federalist Papers by Hamilton. I mean, he talked about it really in depth.
Mhm.
And, you know, that means that the age of majority needs to be the age of majority. And so if we're going to have an age of majority, if we're going to have a legal voting age, that age should also be the age in which you're allowed to purchase guns, you're allowed to serve the military, you're allowed to do just about anything. Hey, Doc, it looks like we finally got you here.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Good,
Oh,
good.
okay,
Glad to see you.
So, just so you know, yeah, I was getting your messages, but they were only appearing as a blank bubble.
That's really weird because, I just re-upgraded back to Minds Plus. It shouldn't have been doing that.
I don't know what it was, but what I did was I signed out of the messenger and then signed back in.
And you were able to get them?
And I was able to get them. That's why I'm here.
Beautiful. I'm glad you are here. So what do you think of this? We were just talking about changing the voting age to 16, and I was laying out a case that if we're going to do that, we need to change the age of majority to 16.
I agree with changing the age of majority to 16. I'm not really sure if 16-year-olds are exactly able to handle that much responsibility, because at that time, they're able to get their driver's license. They're still in high school, and that might be putting too much on them. Remembering when I was that age, I mean, I wasn't crazy or anything, but I wasn't exactly ready. I don't think I'd be ready for that kind of responsibility.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go that route, then we should change the voting age to 25.
Yeah, right there. That's a good point. Wasn't it originally 21?
Originally, it was 30.
30. That's right.
And then it was dropped to 25. And then it was dropped to 21. And then it was dropped to 18.
Yeah, maybe it's just me, but when I hear something like this, I can't help but get this distinct thought process, and I'm just like, okay, is someone over there desperate to try to get some extra votes for their party over there? If we change the age to 16?
I mean, you did see the report out of Texas, didn't you? Almost 100,000 illegal aliens registered to vote in the state of Texas. Almost 60,000 confirmed voting illegally.
Oh,
That's
cool.
in the state of Texas. Just one state. Okay, yeah, it wouldn't sway a presidential election, that one state alone. That's more than enough to change a governor's race. That's more than enough to change a Senate run.
Mm-hmm.
Or the state legislature.
Oh, yeah. I just look at that, hearing that, and I'm of the opinion that's like, okay, this sounds really dumb. It does not sound like it's a good idea, because yeah, I mean, you're trying to put a lot of pressure on a bunch of kids as to this kind of responsibility, and second of all, when it comes to rights, the 16-year-old doesn't really have shit to it compared to an 18-year-old, as other federal laws and state laws tend to abide by. Which is, you can't even drink until you're 21. So what's the point?
Which is one of the reasons I say we should just set a age of majority, and at the age of majority, whatever we set it as, voting, legal contracts, credit, military service, drinking, guns, all of it should be accessible at that age. Whatever we decide as a society is the age of majority, the age where you become a full citizen in your own right. That should be when you get it all.
Yeah, it should be that. I would figure, though, that It's probably not what they want, though.
Oh, I definitely don't disagree with you on that. I know what they want. What they want are a bunch of squishy-headed 16-year-olds voting Democrat and progressive for people like AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Beto O'Rourke. But we're not playing with Willie's Willie here like Kamala Harris did in the 1990s. We're talking about real need to figure out an issue here, and we can't just. That sounds good. Let's go with it. We need to actually make a well thought out decision, which is why I keep pushing back on this every time I hear about it. Okay, you want to change the voting age. Then we need to set a universal age of majority. And when you reach that age, you get all your rights, period, end of story.
Yeah.
Well, and the downside of doing that for someone who's 16 is that, if they're treated as a adult at 16, that means they can drop out of college if they want. Or not college, but high school.
High school, yeah. Yeah, they can.
Which, by the way, that factor, I wouldn't say that's... I wouldn't complain about that, because that should be a person... that would be the person's problem. That's their choice.
It would be their choice. I mean, and that would actually create a need to force the schools to compete to keep kids in classes.
Yeah.
Because it would hurt their funding if kids dropped out.
Yeah. If we base it more on that kind of funding, then yeah, of course the schools would actually end up focusing more on the kids.
Focusing more on how to get them educated, how to give them content and education that actually makes a difference, and not a bunch of empty-headed, soppy indoctrination.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. If they really want 16-year-olds voting, then 16 has to be the age of majority in its entirety. That means all of the rights and responsibilities of the citizen. If they don't want 16-year-olds having that, like they don't want 18-year-olds having guns anymore, then perhaps we need to look at setting the age of majority at a different age. And I'm okay with discussing that as well. I mean, I'd be willing to go 25 or 21 or 20 or 19 or 18, wherever we can as a nation determine. But it's enough with being this wishy-washy. I mean, they want to say at 16 you can drive a car and vote, but you can't go die for your country or have a drink or own a firearm. Voting is a lot more important and requires a lot more work than being safe and responsible with a firearm. I know 12-year-olds that are safe and responsible with firearms. I wouldn't give them the right to vote because they don't think well enough. They're too subjective to what they're told. And I even think still at 16, they're too subjective to what they're told. I honestly would side more on the idea of 25. But I know my idea is going to be unpopular no matter what, so I figure I'd just throw it out there as a general, we as a society need to come up with it.
Yeah.
Well, on the side of 25, I mean, it's approximately that time when the human brain is done forming, and being able to drink at that time isn't going to cause as much damage.
Well, there's a lot of colleges that are already pushing to not allow students to play sports that have head contact until they're 23.
Yep.
And not allowing drinking in campus locations unless you're 25 or older. And, there are even some gun control advocates wanting to make it so you can't purchase a long gun until you're 25 and a handgun until you're 25. Well, if they want to make that the standard, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote until you're 25 for the same reasons. I mean, voting requires a lot of rational thought.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's this past midterm. I mean, I did a lot of looking into the issues, the different candidates, and to determine who I wanted to cast my vote for. And
You mean you didn't just vote for Ilhan Omar?
Who?
Sorry. I know you're up in the northern states. I thought you might have cast your vote for Ilhan Omar.
Oh no, I'm in Utah. Not.
Oh, you're in Utah. Okay,
I had to worry about whether or not to vote for Mitt Romney or not.
Oh, Mittens. Did you vote for Mittens?
Mitt Carpetbagger Romney. Yeah.
That's all right. Oregon's got senators for other states. Senator Merkley came out of California and basically is California's third senator. And what's his name? Damn, now I can't remember his name anymore. Now that he's Wyden. Wyden is basically New York City's senator. I mean, he spends more time in New York and DC than he does in Oregon. Yeah. And his wife lives in New York. His wife doesn't even live in Oregon. She won't step foot in the state. So how does he represent Oregon?
Yeah. And it's like Romney. The only links to Utah that I could find that Romney has is that he went to Brigham Young University and he's LDS. That's it.
You know, that's a lot closer than freaking Merkley and Wyden. I mean, you know, at least he tries to be part of the culture. You know, I ain't saying he's a great senator. I'm saying at least he tries, you know. Merkley and Wyden, all they want to do is spread New York and California politics to Oregon.
Oh, God.
They want Oregon to vote in solidarity with California and New York.
Welcome to the new Soviet bloc.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. That's why I'm embarrassed every time California gets its hands into politics, as I know where that's going.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, man, I knew California was in trouble back in the 1980s when they were talking about how the future is Democrat in California. And
oh, God, the way they said that was so cultish out of fucking nowhere.
And then, you know, we saw the governor, and I don't think we've seen another Republican in California since.
I don't think we have. Probably going to be a long time at this point.
Which I feel really bad for you, because if you look at some of the voting information, I mean, a lot of national election voting in California has been going fairly conservative. Not quite enough yet to break the blue wall, but it's been going fairly conservative. But what I notice is really funny is they'll vote Republican senator, but they vote for Democrat local reps.
It's a weird process.
Well, it's that top two you guys have got.
It is.
If two Democrats win the primary, you don't have a choice.
Nope.
It's Democrat 1 or Democrat 2. It's what flavor of crazy do you want? You know, I'll take the rocky road without the nuts. Thank you very much. Instead of the rocky road with the nuts. Still rocky road, you know?
Hey, basically, but in actuality, when it comes to California politics, is you got nuts on this side and you got more nuts on this side, and all of them want to take everything away from you.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
there's no in between.
So both of y'all are out there on the West. Have y'all been paying attention to what's going on in Oregon and Washington right now?
No.
So the state of Washington declared a statewide emergency. All counties are in a state of an emergency because there's been more than 28 cases of measles.
Ah.
And they're finding more cases of measles regularly. There have already been multiple deaths of children due to measles.
Vaccines don't work. Dumbasses.
Well, and there's concern that those infection levels are already starting to reach Oregon. And if they're already starting to reach Oregon, it's just a hop and a skip to both of you guys.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, with how popular anti-vaxxing is becoming, or seeming to become. Actually, it wouldn't matter because at one point it's going to become so virulent that even if you are, even if you have the immunization, you could still potentially get infected.
Oh yeah, yeah. Vaccines are not 100% perfect. One of the things that keeps us from having mass outbreaks is the herd immunity.
Yeah.
Enough people are vaccinated, and so the weakened strains can't get hold and start to gain strength.
It certainly helps, but a good amount of it is also do not get yourself infected. Just don't even bother. Don't try. Don't be stupid enough to go to places that will likely get you infected with that particular kind of disease.
Oh shit, I'm gonna die
or not.
Well, Kaz, how are you going to avoid that? I mean, you're living in a sanctuary state. Didn't you see the news out of Texas?
So far,
individuals with flesh-eating bacteria caught this week.
so far, I'm okay just by making sure I don't go to LA or something.
Yeah, but your whole state's a sanctuary state, man. They're going to start migrating up to where you are soon.
Oh yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
that's what makes it worse. It's eventuality. It's like something of a zombie movie. Everyone's getting infected right here, and they're eventually just going to work their way up.
Well, that's why I offered to bring you to Tennessee with me when I moved out here, man. I can't say I didn't give you the chance, you know.
Well, that's ironic because like my boyfriend's like, "Hey, move to Tennessee." Move.
I mean, you know, out here people have to vaccinate to go to schools.
Yep.
And that's because out here people know vaccines work, because Tennessee used to be one of the worst for polio. All the way up until the 1960s, there were cases of polio in Tennessee.
Fortunately, Utah is one of those states where you do have to go to school, or do have to get your vaccinations to go to school. In fact, when I started going back to the University of Utah, I had to show them my vaccination records from the military.
Oh man!
So you know, it's so that may be a saving grace, at least for here. But who knows?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it could be a saving grace.
So right now I'm just worried about catching the stupids from the University of Utah.
Yeah, but you know, you and I didn't get inoculated from flesh-eating bacteria in the military.
No, yeah, that's true.
I mean, they made sure they gave us all that anthrax and the smallpox, but they didn't give us nothing for necrotizing fasciitis.
Well, I don't know. I think if we survived MREs.
Hey, now, hey! I liked my MREs. Damn it!
Hey, I had
the old ones. I had
first gen.
Oh yeah, the 5 fingers of death.
Yes.
The constipation slice.
Oh,
hell, the chili mac was pretty good.
I like the ham loaf, but man, to this day I can't touch chicken a la king.
I can understand that. That chicken a la king was pretty gnarly, man. But that ham and cheese omelet wasn't bad.
But yeah, I learned at one point never to eat 2 of the candy bars without eating an MRE as well.
Oh yeah. You want to tell him?
Okay, so an MRE, it's built not only to give you a lot of calories, but also to help you keep for having to take a shit.
Mm-hmm.
The candy bar that was included with it acted as a laxative. So great. I didn't know this at the time, and so I'm working at the tower, and I had a couple of them for snacks during my shift, and yeah, the only time I was peeing through my ass that badly was when I drank a gallon of apple cider or apple juice. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I was gonna say you had the Hershey squirts, didn't you?
Oh, it wasn't even that solid.
Oh man,
it was like
completely liquefied.
Yeah, don't eat too much of that MRE, man.
No.
Now, to be fair, part of the reason they do that is because people used to get bowel obstructions in military combat zones.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the food rations would stop up.
Which, if you're marching if you're marching in an army somewhere, you don't want to have to stop every 10 minutes for a bathroom break.
Well, not just that, but I mean, look at the type of ration you got. Go look back at the old C rations.
Oh my God.
From WWII, Korea, and Vietnam.
Oh, here's a sea rat story for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so a friend of mine who also joined from high school, who also joined the Air Force, he's living in Texas, and he's able to reclaim a Camaro that somebody had driven into a river. And so he's fixing that up, and so he's going through it. He opens up the trunk, and there's like a couple cannons of sea rats, and they were bulging. So he takes them, he throws them into a dumpster, and they explode. Yeah. He has not smelled anything that bad ever.
Shit.
Yeah, but I mean, in sea rats, you had canned rabbit, and we're not talking like minced rabbit here. We're talking whole head on, peeled and ready to eat, canned rabbit. In fact, the Brits were known for putting them face up in the cans.
Ooh.
And so if you got British canned rabbit, it was when you opened it. Yeah, my grandfather never ate rabbit after World War II. He couldn't bring himself to do it because he had so much of that canned rabbit looking up at him. He couldn't bring himself to do it anymore.
It's like, open it up, and what's up, Doc?
Pretty much.
The only time I ever had rabbit was when it was served at the mess hall on the army post I was stationed at, and I was not impressed.
Well, of course you weren't. It was army food.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus H. Christ. The U.S. Army is the only people I've ever seen that can run a perfectly good lobster tail by overcooking.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. They had lobster tail one time that I had, and it's like, what am I eating? It has no flavor whatsoever.
And it chews like rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Army food ain't known for being flavorful, man.
No.
Now, I used to love going to the Air Force post where I got really good food.
Oh, yeah. It's like we'd go because our servicing CBPO was on around my air base. Every time somebody had to do business there, we'd take a bunch of people there, and we'd eat at the local chow hall, which was like a restaurant.
Yeah, it really was. You know how I know? I serviced the Army HR systems for Frankfurt for AFN. So every time I had to go to AFN to do a system update, I'd stop at the air base and eat lunch. That was good stuff, man.
API, UPI, and the major American networks. The news is next on AFN.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still have that memorized.
Oh, God, man. It's been so many years since I've seen it. I hadn't thought about it in a long time until you said it.
Yeah, our weather unit was good friends with the AFN Würzburg radio guys, because every morning is like one of the observers' job to call in and make requests. And we'd always ask, so is there anything you want to hear? Yeah, I want to hear this. Yeah, so just blame it on the weather guys, because they'd play stuff that they weren't allowed to play. Oh, yes. Yeah. Somebody requested it. And so, yeah.
So what do you guys think we're going to end up seeing out of Venezuela? I was talking about my position about what we need to do down there. But what are your predictions as to what will happen?
At this point, I assume that Venezuela as a government body will probably collapse at this point, given that all signs seems to point to it, with attempts at coups and whatnot.
Well, I mean, Maduro is basically dead in the water, man. The only thing he has control of now is the socialist militia and the army. He doesn't even control the oil or any of the nationalized industries or anything. All he's got is the military right now.
Yep, and they're having signs of waning as it is.
Well, that's because interim president, what's his name, Gulio or whatever it is,
something like that,
reinstituted the National Assembly, which is basically their Congress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was his first act after he was sworn in. He had all of them come back and swear him in. And then said, no, you all belong here. And we'll have elections when you're due an election. And it's like, you know, but we've got these Democrats saying, oh no, we need to remove these sanctions and not support a coup against Maduro. You know,
Why not?
And I'm like, guys, if they ask for weapons, sell them weapons. If they want to come here and get military strategic tactical advice and win their own revolution, do it. If they want us to send down some political professors after they're done and help them structure and draft a new constitution,
we may want to rethink that one.
I didn't say write the new constitution for them. Help them write their own.
Yeah, political professors in this day and age.
Okay. Maybe not political professors. How about Lars Larson, Sean Hannity, and Mark Levin?
Okay, I can.
I would say, as a strategic economic benefactor, Venezuela used to be quite powerful in economics, and I believe that by getting rid of this asshole, we can make a good economic ally with them again.
And I don't disagree with you on that, which is why I'm basically taking the French position here, which I know sounds really weird, you know, to say that I'm taking the French position, but I really am.
That usually means surrendering.
Well, it does when you're talking about direct confrontation. When you're talking about
revolutionary war types,
but when you're talking about revolutionary war, taking the French position means you're providing your allies with the means of supporting themselves,
but not
until they're on their feet.
Sometimes defective muskets.
True, they did sell us a bunch of defective muskets, and the last time I saw a Frenchman, I smacked him over that. But that was a completely different story. He was active duty, and he took it in good fun, and we wrestled. I wouldn't do that just to anyone. I knew the guy, you know. And we'd had an argument about it before, and I told him, next time I see you, I'm going to smack you.
Yeah, but as a general, I think there is a good cause to give people of Venezuela an option, an ability, some support to go against this guy, kick him out, and try to refix all of that heavy amount of socialism that has pretty much turned its country into a nightmare.
Well, we've got a serious problem with doing that, though, Kaz. I don't know if you saw the news report about it today or not, but the Bolivar, the Venezuelan Bolivar, when it was re-released onto the market today, for the first time in 12 years, because Chavez took it off the market and set the exchange rate, and Maduro kept it at the exact same rate. When it went on the market today, it immediately plummeted through the floor into the Earth's core and out the other side.
I was wondering what that sound was.
It is now 280,000 bolivar to the dollar.
Wow.
Damn.
When it was pegged, it was 10 bolivar to the dollar.
Jeez.
Yeah, no one wants to deal with that thing.
This is like 1920s Germany all over again. Holy fuck.
It has been for a while.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's something people don't understand. You know, we talk about these communist countries collapsing. I've talked to people who've gone to Havana, who've gone to Cuba, and they're like, oh, it's kind of nice. You know, you sit down in a restaurant, you have a Cuban cigar, you have some Cuban rum, you have some decent food. It's like $15, $20. And then I look at them and I'm like, and it's taxed at 70%. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that $20 you paid them, 17 of that went directly to the government. And the proprietor of the restaurant got $3, of which he had to pay the server that waited on you $1.
Yeah.
And they just they couldn't wrap their head around it. And then they're like, well, why are we even allowing people to go there? And I'm like, That's why you weren't allowed to go there. Until President Obama decided that black was white and to open up the travel ban.
Oh, thanks, Obama.
When I was in Germany, I got to go to visit East Berlin, and if I remember right, it was like 25 East German marks to the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you were forbidden from buying food that you couldn't eat right there.
Yeah.
So, you go and say, buy some apples, you can only buy one or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was to keep from people shopping there, spending, a couple dollars for a month's worth of grocery
food and then bringing it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but China just it was just released in a report that China has anti-satellite missiles. Functioning anti-satellite missile technology. They have outfitted 4 units in the Chinese Red Army.
That's not good.
That's definitely not good at all.
And people are attacking Trump over the Space Force.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Here, and Russia is currently trying to develop an anti-sat missile as well. And China and Russia are both working on both offensive and defensive attack satellites. The report discusses several different types of methodology, including mechanical arms, microwave technology, radio wave cooking, and even limited laser weaponry, as well as good old-fashioned smash.
Wait, just get a nice little mass driver and load it up with BBs and pew.
Damn it, Trump. Hurry up, man. I want my Space Marines.
Are you gonna sign up? If you're not gonna sign up, then they're not your Space Marines, man.
That is heresy.
But I definitely think we need to start developing some of the same technology. I mean, shoot, Reagan was pushing the Star Wars program. Well, if we had actually built that shit.
Well, we still have the F-15. Because the F-15 in some capacities is an anti-satellite aircraft.
A little bit.
If you want to get a hard on, watch an F-15 do a max climb.
Yeah, I know what they can do, man. I've seen them do it.
I mean, agreeably, it's limited compared to an actual offensive defensive satellite system.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Is I understand that we've got a few F-15s still in service, and part of their reason for still being in service.
I mean, we do need to build up
satellite defense, but we don't have nearly the capability we need.
Yeah, I agree.
And that means that we need to build offensive and defensive satellite weaponry, because I mean, hell, we run the GPS network for the world.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if China decides they want to target the GPS net?
Yeah.
It's not just going to be your cars that don't have, navigation. It's going to be ships. It's going to be aircraft. It's going to be truck drivers.
A lot of infrastructure, both in terms of economic and civilian and military, having information disadvantage because they're taking down all the satellites with them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, Doc, but I know that the U.S. Army still teaches land nav.
Yeah, I had to learn that when I got to Germany, because we deploy out to the field with the Army, and so we had to learn how to do had to learn our map skills.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. Army, while they still use GPS systems, they still require you to do land navigation, reckoning, and orienteering.
Yeah. In fact, my son had last time he was here on leave, he was talking about that.
And the reason being is if your GPS system goes out, you still
Mhm.
need to know how to get where you're going.
Absolutely.
To be fair, GPS systems are still extremely flawed.
It depends on the system you've got, how you've got it configured, whether or not you've got the universal bypass chip set, and so on and so forth, Kaz. Because you know the U.S. military can actually manipulate your GPS if you don't have the universal translator chip that bypasses those signals.
Plus, also military GPS is a lot more precise,
sophisticated.
Yeah.
You can get within 3 of your target consistently with a military grade GPS. They're nothing pretty to look at.
No. What is in the military? Well, there's the A-10. That's really pretty to look at.
I was gonna say, man, the M1 Abrams, its main battle complement is real sexy.
That is much sexy.
Damn sexy. You know?
Those are good tanks. I fail to see why we need to develop a completely new one at the moment, unless the military industrial complex is desperate just to waste money on the technology we're not going to even use.
The big reason, Kaz, is because the M1 Abrams is over 40 years old.
Yeah.
And while they've been upgraded somewhat, the interior design was based off the older tech.
Mm-hmm.
And with the new tech, you can actually redesign the inside to be more efficient. And so that's why there's a push to replace the M1 Abrams with the M2 Abrams.
Yeah, M2.
Which is basically a new version with a redesigned interior, better armor, more RPG deflection capability, and more maneuverability, plus more fuel per mile, more distance per gallon on the fuel.
Well, at least that sounds better than what they're doing for researching technology around the Navy right now. What was that one vehicle? They tried fucking with the engines, and that thing's not going to work for combat. They're like, we're going to completely remove the foundation for engine working, and why is this thing not working? Ah.
Well, guys, we're coming up on 8 o'clock here. In fact, we went a little past it, and I was planning on only doing about an hour because I got to be up at 3 a.m. in the morning. But why don't we go ahead and let you guys chill out? Why don't we start with you, Kaz?
Oh yeah, it's no problem. I'm Kaz Warfox. I just do politics commentary and general edgy shit on YouTube for the lulz. And if you like to follow me on Twitter just because I like to be a savage asshole on the internet, then yeah, follow that too.
Hey, Kaz, are you tagging all your responses to AOC with lolcal yet?
AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh,
she has 2 separate Twitter handles. I follow both of them. I respond to everything I see of hers. And I tag everything I respond with lolcow. Because she is the queen of lolcows. We need to be milking that lolcow every day.
She is. I was thinking
that has a connotation that has me disturbed.
Every time she's stupid on economics, I was thinking of spam posting that image of her touching the economic book, Basic Economics, and having her hand set on fire, and her have that
her
crazy
hand burn.
Yeah.
She's remember that statement she made of there shouldn't be billionaires while people in Alabama are getting ringworm?
The fuck?
Words bond. She said that. And so I tweeted back to her Twitter response on that with, ringworm occurs when you touch other people's skin and there is dirt, debris, detritus there. In fact, wrestling teams all over the country use a bleach sanitizing solution on their wrestling mats to keep ringworm from spreading.
Hell, I
So-
got it when a cat licked me.
So she responded back, I meant hookworms. I meant hookworms. And so I responded back, well, hookworms are a common parasite inside all mammal livestock and most mammal house pets, and so are roundworms. And to be fair, if you work on a cattle ranch, you've probably been exposed to anthrax on your skin because these are common health factors on farms.
Yeah, that's always going to be a persistent threat. I don't see where she's going with the there should be no billionaires
Yeah,
argument.
Well, it just shows how much of a lol cow she is, man.
Well, it shows you that it's not just that she's bad at economics, really bad at economics. She also doesn't seem to understand the concept of environmental factors. It's almost like she lives she lives in like a fucking sanitated lab most of her life, like she's a test tube baby or something.
Well,
Because I don't see how you're that dumb not to understand the concept of environmental factors in diseases.
Well, if you had listened to Michael Knowles, you'd know that she grew up actually in a very rich upstate town in New York. She's not actually from the Bronx. She left the Bronx at like 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
And she received a college scholarship after going to a school where the median income per household is about $400,000 per household.
Yeah.
And of course, then she went back to New York and worked as an activist and a bartender part-time. I mean, she won't even be eligible for the presidency for over a decade because she's too young.
Mm-hmm. Well, right there's proof that voting age should be, or the age of majority should be lifted to 25.
The lol cow AOC is proof that the age of majority should be 25.
Yep.
Should I do a shirt about that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll do a shirt about that this weekend and post it on Teespring and Redbubble.
I may have to get one. I need a new T-shirt for the U.
Well, I'll take a picture of her, one of her images online, and put it on the front, and then on the back, evidence that we should raise the age of majority to 25.
You're welcome.
And then put Trump 2020 underneath that.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so Doc, go ahead and chill it out, man.
The only thing I've got going on really is school up at the U, but
I heard you had a killer live stream yesterday. What's going on?
Me?
You live streaming on Sunday?
No, I think that was a different Doc.
Okay.
So yeah, I think
Goatman said you had a killer live stream yesterday.
Yeah,
so
well,
that's what I was asking.
Yeah, well, Goatman has bad information.
Oh man.
But I am working on something. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about it. But this past weekend, somebody put banners and stickers on the U of U campus that the U of U president has called racist. And the one is from Patriot Front that says strong borders mean strong nations.
Mm-hmm.
Patriot Front, I researched a bit of that, and yeah, they're a bunch of assholes. The other one was just stickers from the Identity Europa and their logo.
Oh, God.
So, but the problem I had is that when the U president sent out the message, she's saying, racist messages according to the ADL, they're white supremacy groups, so on and so forth. But she's like not saying what they said, who they were. So we have to rely on her opinion instead of being able to make up our own minds.
Of course, man. I mean, to be fair, I expect the SPCL to come out and declare me, a terrorist and a fearmonger any day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, I'm only 150 miles from their headquarters now.
Oh.
Oh, no, sorry, 250 miles.
Okay.
250 miles.
That's a little bit better.
But still, I'm expecting to hear from him any day. You have been determined to be a hateful individual and are no longer tolerated on the internet and should be executed.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. It's that message to come across at the U is that get hauled in front of a bias council.
Oh yeah,
and for microaggressions, and it's like, oh god, this just means I'm going to have to show them what a macroaggression is.
Well, man, you should team up with Elisa Clegg, and if they pull that mess with you, I mean, I can get you in touch with her. She and I.
Oh no, I talk to her every so often.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure because y'all are in the same state.
Oh yeah, we're I think we're almost neighbors, but not sure.
If something happens, let me know, and I mean, I'll call to arms and rally whatever patriots I can to try to get you out.
But yeah, I could just see it as that they're going to like call some of this crap, and it's like you're racist, you're biased. It says no, I don't care.
Oh, and if you are going to buy that Trumpy bear to stick in the crying closet, let me know. I'll send you money for it.
I got to make sure that it's still there. I haven't been in the library for a couple months, but I'm sure it is. But I think
they didn't remove that crying closet.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, Cass, because you probably don't know. So the University of Utah, in the library, there's a crying closet that you can go in and have a good cry. I'm thinking about getting a Trumpy bear and putting it in there.
Are you serious? That's a thing?
That's a thing.
That's
absolutely.
That's a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's pictures of it on the internet.
Shit. Portland State University in downtown Portland has 4 of them.
Oh,
one in each building.
Yep. When I first went to college back in '90, we had decompression events during finals and midterms.
Yeah, where you all went outside and yelled at the top of your lungs and such. Yeah.
Or it's like here's pizza or here's stuff like this and here's music. Mm-hmm. Just have fun, relax.
Yeah.
But now it's like, here you go. Here, come step inside the crying closet, and here's some tissues, and just in case, here's some lotion. We don't judge.
And a can of Play-Doh.
And a can of Play-Doh and crayons. But yeah, there's a picture of it that somebody posted. And inside, it's like there's like stuffed animals in there. So I thought I'd add a Trumpy bear to it.
Like I said, man, if you really do decide to do that, let me know, and I will help support that, because I think that's something that every crying closet all across America should have.
You just need like you need like a rag doll with like you make a
MAGA hat on,
a t-shirt that said "God Emperor Trump," and it just triggered, sees it.
This is a teddy bear that looks like it's got Trump's hairdo and all that, so it's no mistaking it. And so what I want to do is I want to put it in there and then camp outside of it and just film reactions.
Oh yeah. Do it right before finals, man. Put it in there right before finals,
and then right after that,
when people are using it.
And then right after that, I'll be expelled for being racist.
Whatever happened, just crying at home.
Well, and guys, as y'all all know, I'm Veteran Mountain Man. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, which you've obviously found if you're watching this, or if you're on my BitChute feed, because I rebroadcast this on BitChute. Don't forget to follow me there. Also, don't forget, I have other social media sites down below, and I was not kidding. I am going to try to get a new AOC t-shirt out this weekend showing AOC on the front and the reason for raising the age of majority to 25 on the back, along with Trump 2020 is the hashtag. So make sure you get one of those as soon as I put them up, because I guarantee they won't stay up long. I will post the links to Twitter, Gab, Minds. I might even do a video about it so that I can post it up onto YouTube and BitChute. I'm pretty sure BitChute won't pull it down, but I guarantee you it'll get me a 24-hour suspension from YouTube. But even though I would be willing to take that sacrifice for all of you and make sure that we all have our AOC t-shirts.
As long as they come in M1 Abrams size.
Teespring and Redbubble do up to 5X, so that should be
That's close enough.
yeah. And they do long sleeve t-shirts at up to 5X too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I'll make sure I've got it in both long and short sleeve options.
Tee-hee.
Well, everyone, have yourself a nice night and a wonderful, wonderful day tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.
See you later.